The resource I have chosen was a lesson plan from the Genderbread Person website. This resource will be analysed and discussed in relation to 2 of the HPE propositions. So this website and its main resources, like the Genderbread Person posters, were originally designed in 2011 by Sam Killerman. Since then, the Genderbread Person has evolved and more concepts have been added to the site. I chose this resource as it is extremely effective in ensuring that students understand the important difference between gender, sex, and sexual orientation. Killerman's website describes this source as a teaching tool for breaking the big concept of gender down into bite-sized digestible pieces. The focus area that I found linked to this resource was relationships and sexuality. In particular, I found 3 main topics underneath this focus area. So, bullying, harassment and discrimination and violence, and then the last 2, changing identities and the factors that influence them, and celebrating and respecting the difference and diversity in individuals and the community. The content descriptors that I found were for years 5 and 6. I focused on the strand personal, social, and community health, substrand contributing to healthy and active communities. My content descriptor shown here is identify how valuing diversity positively influences the well-being of the community. My elaboration that links quite well is the last elaboration as well, shown on screen. One of my peer comments, shown in green, addressed how this lesson can be linked to the discussed elaboration by having a guided inquiry activity where students are involved in a class discussion about how to create an inclusiveness for the minority groups discussed on the website. The lesson plan that can be found on the website. This lesson applies a strength-based approach as it allows students to develop their knowledge and understanding of the acronym LGBTQ shown on the goals, the Genderbread Person components as goals number 2 as well. Being familiar with these terms allows students to make informed decisions that can build healthy and safe environments that will enhance the health and well-being of themselves and others. This lesson plan overall is well set out and easy to understand, and the lesson outcomes are clear and concise. The accompanying document, which is the comprehensive list of LGBTQ plus vocabulary definitions, assists with taking a strength-based approach by providing students with the opportunity to learn about these terms and enables students to become critical inquirers by using multiple resources such as part of this website. Regarding the steps provided in the actual lesson plan, I would personally break them down more. So, for example, for step 3, I would find it more beneficial for each of these topics, so gender, identity, expression, and sex, to have each of their own step, including a definition. I do like that step 4 addresses sexual and romantic attraction purposely after the other 3 areas, though. There's also an example at the bottom of the document, which I found very helpful. It is labelled as a lecture, which I don't like, as lecture implies a very explicit teaching approach, where I would take a more guided inquiry approach. This example runs through definitions and sort of like speech parts that you could actually include in your lesson and encourages you to make it your own, including and excluding whatever you really want to. There's also at the bottom of this document additional notes with additional areas and links that the teacher can use to develop their background knowledge. As previously mentioned, this proposition is targeted by the content descriptor ACPPS060, previously discussed, which enables students to use their knowledge to positively influence the well-being and safety of the community. By using the discussed elaboration, this lesson plan and additional resources can be used to take a strength-based approach by empowering students to make informed decisions within their communities in regard to making them safe and welcoming for minority groups like the ones discussed. Taking a strength-based approach allows myself as a teacher of HPE to shift students' views on LGBTQ plus individuals to one of acceptance and inclusivity by encouraging students to oppose negative opinions and to build upon and nurture their agency. One of my peer comments shown in green was in relation to this proposition. It was mentioned that the strength-based approach creates a safe learning environment in which students feel comfortable enough to share ideas and opinions on the discussed topics. This approach is supported by McCaig, who deems this approach highly effective compared to the deficit view model. This resource foregrounds marginalised sexualities and genders and provides a small opportunity for students to reflect on why and how these groups are marginalised. Students would be allowed to explore the Genderbread website and its associated links and documents. This gives students the opportunity to take on the role of researchers within the activity, which is one way to achieve components of this approach according to Leahy. The supporting document, the comprehensive list of vocabulary and definitions, allows students to take on this researcher role and discover concepts and definitions for themselves. One of my peer comments, shown in green, mentions this proposition. It was mentioned that allowing the students to discuss the resource in a collaborative class discussion could prove beneficial to their understanding and therefore their ability to engage critically with the resource. In order to improve the resource being analysed, I have chosen to target the included critical inquiry approach proposition. This resource, including the website and the additional documents, have many positive aspects to it. However, I believe that things can constantly be improved upon. I have decided to provide you with a strategy for this proposition. The curriculum explains how it is vital for students to develop the skills that allow them to critically engage with resources and inquire about their information and perspectives. I believe that the following recommendations and ideas can make this more achievable. If a reflective class discussion was added to the end of this lesson, it can allow students to take a critical stance on discrimination issues and to critically examine and reflect on how their community views LGBTQ+ people and engage in conversations that discuss how they can change negative views and promote inclusivity within their community. I would allow students to explore the Genderbread website along with the addition of the jigsaw activity, whereby my class of 24 was split into 4 groups of 6. Each group would be allocated a topic, gender identity, expression, sex, and attraction, and would use the provided resources and research to terms and become experts in their area. Students would then take turns explaining to the class their topic and would add definitions, explanations, and examples to a giant Genderbread person poster provided and that which would make home in their classroom.